All right, great. Well, welcome everybody to episode 5 of the MCPA podcast. We are very, very blessed to have Dr. Jerod Hill today. Dr. Jerod Hill joins us from Branson, Missouri. This is going to be a great episode. I want everybody listening to sort of take something back to your office on Monday. If it's something that you do as well, and you're just saying, oh, great, I'm glad I do that. Or if it's a new thing you learn and it's something that you're deciding to implement, we've always got somebody around that might be able to answer some questions for you. So, welcome to episode 5. And Dr. Hill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We actually connected over an email, and I just thought, you know what? Let me see if Dr. Hill would be available for an episode. So it ended up just being fortuitous that today worked out. And for the most part, we like to connect with members and just get an idea of how they practice. And then we also try to keep it lighthearted and fun and just kind of see what you're up to outside the office. So it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Dr. Hill, would you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? What drew you to chiropractic? If you start as far back as you want, started undergrad, whatever you want to do, just kind of tell us, how did you end up becoming Dr. Jerod Hill?
My dad was a chiropractor, and he kind of started because his brother-in-law, which would be my uncle, was a chiropractor. And so actually my dad was a teacher and coach for 20 years first, and then went back to school and became a chiropractor, I believe, when he was in his younger 40s when he graduated. And then he was a chiropractor for over 35 years after that. But I grew up, I was the youngest, so I grew up under chiropractic care, and that's just the way we dealt with things. We know it never went to the doctor or anything like that, just took care of it naturally. So I was really blessed with that. And then my brother became a chiropractor as well. And really, the key thing, that just seeing the impact that my dad had in the community, everybody would say, "Oh, you're Dr. Hill's son," and he's like a miracle worker, and just sharing with me these amazing stories of how he helped them, and I could see genuinely how appreciative they were and how much of an impact he's having in people's lives. And I knew that I wanted to help people, and so that's really what I wanted to follow in that footsteps, and just see that for myself, and to try to help as many people as I can.
That's always a very interesting topic when I hear that somebody in your family was also a chiropractor, and that's usually one of the big ones. We also see large families kind of spread out over like a geographic area, but the name becomes very familiar. So, okay, so that's interesting. So you had some personal experiences growing up, and then when it comes to the logistics and the business side of deciding to become a chiropractor, what drew you to that while you were in school? So let's say you're in school. Did you start out as an associate first? Did you come back to the family practice? How did you decide what type of practice that you wanted to do? And ultimately, how long did that last when, you first got out?
My dad was more of what I'd say is kind of like more of a pain relief chiropractor. He loved people and took care of them, but his main thing was he'll tell them more about the lifestyle and some of those changes when they start asking, like, how do I get this to not come back anymore? And that's when he would use as an opportunity to try to help them. But otherwise, he was mostly taking care of the initial or immediate needs that was going on from that individual. And that's kind of how a little bit my viewpoint. I didn't really have a full understanding of the power of chiropractic and how the body was really designed to heal itself until I started listening to really on purpose CDs when I was in chiropractic college. I went to Parker Chiropractic College, and I started listening to the CDs, DVDs back in the day. And then I started learning more about the philosophy behind chiropractic, and then the Insight Millennium Subluxation Station, and being able to monitor how the nervous system functions. And so my dad was he was really good with his hands, and pretty old school though, no x-ray, no scanning technology. But I mean, he was a great chiropractor, but he didn't have a lot of tools to assess how the body's functioning. So that's where, when I got out of school, I knew that I wanted to practice a little different. I wanted to go with the approach of trying to help people prevent from things happening in the first place, and a little more, I want to see more families and kids and babies as well. I started out with getting the substation to evaluate how the nervous system is functioning, and then we eventually started getting x-rays to look at the structure and the function and all those things.
That's great. So you're taking a lot of the different diagnostic tools you've got and you've applied those to your practice. And that sort of seems like it opens up new avenues for the patients versus just before the call here, we were talking about, if I go into the doc, I've got like a shoulder issue or my knee hurts. So I'm coming in when it's too late. So in your purposes, you're looking to connect with people where the pain is maybe manageable and it's at a point where we could still do something on the body. How does that look like when somebody comes in? Let's say they've just tried, they've been to some hospitals, they've been to another chiropractor. What does that look like when you first meet somebody that hasn't responded well to other docs, and then it's on you now?
Really, our number one thing is we really need to understand their situation. So what is their goal? Everybody has a little bit different goal. Not my agenda, but what do they want to get out of the care, so we can then, our team, come alongside and figure out how can we help them. And then once we understand that path, we start to try to get to the underlying issue. Like many of the chiropractors probably listening, is everybody has the different tools and ways to understand. So we do the chiropractic evaluation. We do a posture picture, a digital picture to evaluate their posture. We do the scans to look at how the nervous system is functioning, looking at their heart rate variability as well. And we also do an in-body, looking at the body composition, so we can understand their visceral fat levels and how much inflammation they be having going on in their body. So we gather that information, and then through the exam, we determine if we need to take x-rays. And then if we do, we'll do the digital x-rays, and then we'll have them come back for a report once we've understood what their goals are, and then how healthy their spine and their nervous system is, or an extremity like a shoulder issue, we'll an evaluation there. And then at the report, that's when we'll sit down with them and help them, give them recommendations, on a care plan based on what their goals are. So that if it's somebody specifically with the shoulder, well, if the neck is involved or the upper thoracic spine, then we'll talk about the core first, right? The spine, the nervous system, what needs to happen there. If there's any kind of therapies that we need to do to help them get on track, whether it's laser therapy or decompression, massage. Also, in our practice, we have a fitness studio. So we take care of a lot of fitness needs or nutrition needs. And sometimes that's secondary a little bit. So a lot of times we kind of focus on the core first, start getting things functioning well. Like, so let's say if someone, like your example of someone had a shoulder issue going on, we find a lot of times, they've been to the doctor, they've already had surgery, it's still not well, things are going on, because sometimes there's a problem more upstream, something going on with the cervical or the thoracic that's affecting the shoulder and the biomechanics of that. So if we can address that, start getting that to function well, and then giving them some home things to start working on. And then if maybe there's massage or laser or whatever. But then the next phase is starting to then get them involved with maybe our personal trainer to help walk through some specific exercises they can be working on. Because one thing we find with most patients is not only are they wanting to get rid of their shoulder issue, but the shoulder issue is holding them back from doing something else, right? Their real goal is wanting to be able to be active and play with their grandkids or their kids or play their golf game. And it's not allowing them to do those things they want to do anymore. So they want to get well, get out of pain so they can do that. So if we can help them understand what needs to happen, not just for that temporary element, but what it means for their future goals of being able to play with their kids or grandkids or golfing for long term, and the stability in that, that's where those phases of personal training, helping him potentially to lose weight or getting better active physical condition.
Yeah, I heard you mention the patient's goal several times there, and that seems very important. I can imagine that in some circumstances, we just don't have time to focus on the larger than an emergency medicine situation or something else. So when they have the chance to get it taken care of up front, do you sometimes have to educate them on what a goal looks like? I know in some
Mhm.
circumstances, I want to lose 50 pounds, at any given time. If you ask me what I want, I'd love to lose 50 pounds. But what does that mean? Does that, in my circumstance, am I looking at smaller goals of 10 and 15 and milestones? Or is it just figuring out you don't eat that well? Or, which the kind of differential diagnosis on that front?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, for example, if someone came in and they're wanting to lose weight, lose 50 pounds, most of our patients we would still evaluate how their nervous system is functioning, because we know the nervous system has a huge impact on the metabolism. So, again, the nervous system and the spine, the health of that first, working our way out, and then addressing their in body, which is looking at the body composition. And then what we have as a tool called a PNOE, which is breath analysis, which helps us to evaluate their VO2 max and also their metabolic rates, how healthy it is. So basically how their body's breaking down fats, proteins, carbohydrates, and kind of the health of their lungs and their heart fitness and things like that. The testing is in a resting state and also in an active state. And been a really good tool to help us personalize a nutrition program for them, where it comes like with an app so they can be following that. Also, it helps to personalize their exercise or their fitness program. So that way the personal trainer has something to go by. It's not just a generalized, here, this should work for you. It's more specifically designed for that individual, because everybody's metabolism just works a little bit different. So the gold standard with that breath analysis is something that we do to help people be more specific for that individual. But we have some patients that they don't want that to go down that far of a path, right? They want more generalized. So maybe someone is chiropractic patient wanting to just improve their overall health, and they've got some headaches or this or that, and so they may be just a consultation with some basic nutrition needs. We may have them fill out a little goal sheet when it comes to what are they looking for with the nutrition, a metabolic assessment form to kind of understand how some of the systems are working. We may go down and do some blood work for someone if they're wanting to go down that path, or if it's more generalized, we can give some more basic tools to work on right away, and that may help what their goals are there. We try to cater it to what they're looking to. Some of them have tried the more general approaches and they're like, I need to get deep and understand the underlying issue and be more specific. And so there's more steps and more costs involved with that.
Yeah, and they sort of have to take a look at what their time and budget constraints are for the
You
help.
bet.
You also got to see if, they're trying to get it all done now, or you never know when they've got some other larger event coming up here, sub in work, personal, family, surgery, that could just sort of trample over what they want to do, especially if they're willing to start, but they'll know if they're going to need to meet with somebody 3 times a week and have the phone call or something like that. Seems like the goal setting is very important here. How does one, so let's say you've done the first panel of testing here and it comes time, so let's say you don't take any type of nutrition supplement, let's say you take nothing. I take Flintstone gummies from the Walmart. What do most people need based just on just, people in Missouri you're meeting? Is there anything kind of universal they'd need to get on?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing I think you did ask, I don't think I answered it, was with the practice, because I just kind of was thinking about that is we are a 100% cash practice too. So
Okay.
that can make a difference when it comes to what their needs are and what they're looking for. But when it comes to nutrition, what I personally find is there's some foundational things that are lacking for most people that are kind of across the board for a good majority of whether it's adults and kids. You think about a really good whole food, clean multivitamin of some sort, whether it's in a shake or a powder or capsule or some form of a multi mineral and vitamin. And then you have like your omega 3s is a key area to increase that for most people. And then you have really good probiotic or a pro and prebiotic for the gut. And then really a fourth one, especially this time of the year, is vitamin D3. It's the number one vitamin deficiency in America. So I think that's when we do blood work, it's almost always low, even with a lot of people that are taking vitamin D. So again, a lot of them aren't absorbing it well. They're not, or it's not a high quality. So those are, I would say, the four key elements that we find those for them. Of course, then you can go rabbit trailing from there. A lot of other supplements that are really useful and helpful. But
Yeah, I figured it'd be tailored for each person, but I know that we probably all have some stuff we kind of all eat at the same grocery stores, unless you're somebody that fully controls farm to table what you eat. I'm assuming a lot of us are getting about the same nutrition if you buy and make your food. And if you eat out in fast food, then you're definitely getting the same nutrition as everybody else eating that. So that's definitely the balance of figuring out, let's say if somebody gives me a treatment plan and it's just a bunch of things that I can't get to, I have a smile, I'll sort of say, this is amazing. You're changing my life. I'm looking forward to this. And then, you'll start to see when it comes time to do that Thursday check-in, or you need to get over here to do that. It's always hard to juggle those in. So I think seeing first the different testing that you do for them, that probably gives them some clarity on what's missing. And, of course, it's like you mentioned, if it's a shoulder, it could be cervical as well, because you're pulling on that area even worse. So it's always hard kind of nailing things down. Are you treating a symptom? Are you treating the underlying cause? What else do you get into when folks come in and let's say they've decided to work on a nutrition plan and they're also coming into the gym? What kind of activity level are they monitoring? Is that something that you get with them on, or do they decide that with the trainer who's, working on the different WODs and other types of workouts you could do?
yeah, that's great. Well, one thing I wanted to touch too, you hit a really good point. I know early on in my practice, I wanted to help everybody as much as possible. And then they would come in for a new patient, and you're thinking of all these exercises and therapies and things they can do. And you just like, okay, here's what you need. And then you like, there you go. And then the implementation part of it, they're like, okay, let's do this. I'm serious about my health. But the reality of them being able to actually implement all these steps and these things is not real. So we've had to kind of break it down into more phases of implementation for patients over the years, and understanding the reality of patients' busy lives. So that's where sometimes, like I was saying with nutrition, sometimes where they're at, they can't do the extensive program. They're not going to be able to follow a specific food plan, but they can start with some basic principles and truths to help get them going and then build from there. And so that's the same thing like the question you just asked when it comes to maybe the fitness side of things is once we identify if someone is needing some help in that area, sometimes it's just they just needed some guidance, some home things to work on, and they can get that going, and they're very self-motivated and they can get it rolling. But a lot of patients, we find that they are intimidated by the gym or the exercises. They don't want to hurt themselves, and or they don't really, they don't know what to do. So that's where having the handoff to the personal trainer, each person that we hand off to them, we kind of walk alongside and kind of familiarize the personal trainer on what to be watching out or be careful with when it comes to their spinal or neurological, and kind of hand off the goals properly. And then our personal trainer will do a baseline testing. So the baseline testing for their fitness, and it kind of goes over some strength, some stability, some flexibility, their endurance, a few tests to evaluate where are they at physically, and then from there to be able to know what kind of program do I need to do for this individual based on their goals or what they want. Like some of them are wanting to just get more balance, more flexibility, and not a whole lot of strength and endurance, or vice versa. Or some of them are wanting to lose more weight. They don't really care as much about the strength component or whatever. So we do a baseline testing, and then after a series of personal training, then we retest and see, okay, how do we progress? Where are we at with those? And that's the same thing with the breath analysis every 3 to 4 months, at least for a couple, 2 or 3 times, to help get them where they want to go. That because as their body's getting in better condition, their metabolism changes. So that's one reason why a lot of people will plateau with their health and their weight, is because they're basing it on a certain amount of parameters, and then they actually start making changes. They start getting healthier. They are in better fitness condition. They're doing the same type of workouts or the same nutritional plan, then it's very easy for them to kind of start to find a place where they plateau. So if we reevaluate how healthy their metabolism, one thing about the breath analysis, that helps us to determine, well, what kind of exercise should they be focusing on more of? Do they need more resistance or hypertrophy exercise, or do they need more aerobic and conditioning? They need more circuit training, kind of how many times a week, and it kind of helps to customize it for what their metabolism is and what their goal is. So yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of rattling off there a little bit. Does that
No,
answer
no,
your
that makes
question?
sense. I think we were going over, like how they know what kind of fitness to do so that you're working with the personal trainer, you're getting the physician to trainer information to them. And then from there, they're using the program on top of whatever customization to get the person as much as they can in that phase.
Exactly. You betcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. I think it ebbs and flows. You wake up and you don't feel that great one day, so you dedicate everything to health, and then the phone rings, you go to work, do some type of other type of family commitment, and then it's not feeling great, but you're better than you were before. So you make a call, you schedule the appointment, and then that's the person that calls and cancels. I swear, from the mind of the patient, I want to get in there, but I just you get busy, and the health is something that's very easy to deprioritize. It's almost comes with zero immediate cost to you right now, but I know I'm taking away from myself in the future when I make these decisions.
Yeah. And that's really where one of the requirements when they start off as a patient is we have a better results faster workshop to try to help them understand the bigger picture with that too. Because sometimes people will look at chiropractic as kind of like an extra benefit or a luxury rather than a necessity when we look at our overall health. And, a lot of people don't realize the impact that our spine is having on our nervous system and how our nervous system controls everything. So that workshop is something that we do for all of our new patients. And then really that's actually our number one referral source when it comes to our internal referrals, because once they understand the principle and how the body works and how to better take care of it, and we go over some information even clear back from the birthing process, the stress from that, and why we see so many babies and kids and things like that, even though they're not complaining of headaches or whatever, right? It's about overall function and health and preventive. Then they want to get their families in, they want to get their spouses in, and so because that's why we're a family practice. we would hate for someone at home because they maybe aren't having any symptoms at the time, but something underlying be going on, that their health is going in a negative direction. So that's why we have workshops and things like that available, so we can hopefully they understand to a full deeper level, and then we can get them checked just to see how their body's really functioning and not base it on how they feel.
Yeah, and using those diagnostic tools are going to be very important because there's always new ones coming out. They've got all these tests you can take, and we've had some conversations with the different lab companies and kind of just seeing, what codes are chiropractors using, and it's just I can't really boil it down to a list. So many out there, and you just, oh, I see these three things that could, warrant one of these, and if they're ready to do it, I'm sure you get information that saves you months compared to just saying how'd that feel, and then they don't come back the next time, but then they come back 2 times later juiced and ready to go. But I'm sure there's like a time delay for a lot of this for them.
You bet. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, that's sort of the interesting part there for the other side. And you mentioned working with the whole family, and that sort of reminds me of our conversation with Dr. Patrick Hammond, the Casey Royals chiropractor. He sort of blended how working with the athletes made him better at the family practice, because he was talking about, overuse injuries are going to be whether they're from the pitcher or whether they're from the lawnmower, or, you've just done too much there. Can you sort of talk about how working with athletes and other folks who may be in a sort of different type of pain situation helps you when you start to see children and other people with sort of related injuries? Or if they're not related, tell us how they're not.
Well, yeah, we definitely love to work with athletes as well. That's kind of one of our passions, helping people kind of go to the next level with performance. And it's interesting how there's just foundational principles that are related, whether it's an athlete trying to be their very best, their top level in whatever sport they're in, and but we kind of look at it as an occupational athlete, someone who's wanting to be the best they can at their job, or a mother, or could be just a husband with their hobby. They want to go out there and enjoy it and do well, and from a mindset of we want the families to get the most highest quality of care too. Like for me personally, I'm not this elite athlete, but I want to be able to play and have fun and do. And that's one reason why I probably get all the tools and we keep researching and doing things, is because I want to be able to try to keep taking care of myself selfishly, just so I can keep going. But when it comes to the relation between them, I think that there is with certain athletes that the repetitiveness that can go on with certain sports, that wear and tear to certain joints really has an impact. And so when it comes transcends into families, whether it's a mother holding onto their child on their hip the same way, same side all the time, there can just be these imbalances and these repetitive movements that can create stress to the spine and the nervous system. And so if we can be evaluating and checking periodically, and not only give specific adjustments to restore the alignment and function, but also give some instruction on maybe some to dos and to not things not to be doing, to help create more adaptability, for that parent or that family, just like an athlete would be, for prevention. And that's where you were kind of talking about earlier on in the call, of looking at, one of our key goals for a patient is to just be more adaptive and resilient to whatever comes their way. We're all going to be going through storms and things and falls or whatever, but how is your body going to respond to it? And so there needs to be not just getting someone out of some relief, but getting their spine, their nervous system, the balance stronger and healthier. And that's kind of like our motto is helping them become stronger, healthier, and happier.
Yeah, and those are things that everybody's going to want. And I think they all sort of lend themselves to different baby steps to get there. And for the folks that are kind of worried about it, maybe they don't need to look at the end goal of the 50 pounds up front. Maybe we start with the changes. And if it only ends up being 70 pounds, but you're on your way to a healthier life, you're going to be happier at that negative 17 range than you were going up 17 pounds. I'll tell you that. That's sort of, it's the holiday, people eating. This is such a tough time to stay on your fitness goals. And one thing I wanted to ask you, I was going to drop it back in there before we moved on too far. If folks want to use your fitness center, is that a membership type thing, or is that for patients only? And it's sort of, how do you run a gym basically inside of a practice? How's that work?
Yeah, great question. We have roughly around 1,000 square feet for the fitness studio. So it's not super large, but you can get a group of 10, 12 people in there really comfortably working out. And it is a membership based as well. Majority of the members are patients, but there are referrals from a good friend or someone else and we've had just the opposite, right? So someone comes in and was a referral to one of the classes, and then all of a sudden eventually they're wanting to get checked out and get an evaluation and become a patient. So it can go either direction, right? Our whole office is roughly around 4,000 square feet, and about 1,000 of it is the fitness studio itself. And most of our classes are in the morning, and that just seems to be the best time for most people. And then the personal training kind of usually is kind of throughout the day, depending on the patient's schedule.
I love that from the health outcome and the business perspectives there because it seems that people were going to pay for this service no matter what, where they had some form of a budget for it, and they might as well work with a doctor while they're using it. And then the classes you're mentioning, that also gives you some kind of group morale support. COVID really showed me that while we just did the kind of general being at home, that I was never a home workout person. I was like, let me get to the gym. If I can't get to the gym, then I'm not going. Now
Mhm.
I've got the bar at home, got some light weights and things like that. But the hardest part is the finding the motivation to truly get off the couch and do it, not just the, oh, I want to work out. So going there is great because that change of scenery really just puts me in. Even now when I get up to the gym, that's how I know. You take that walk from the car, put the music in, and you're like, okay, I'm here to work. So that's great that you have that going.
I was just gonna say, well, you hit on something really important. I thought it'd be good to share. Is one of the reasons why we want to do that is because we believe, our health is not just physical health, right? So you've got also social health or mental or emotional health. You have spiritual health. There's different dimensions or aspects of health that I believe correlate and impact one another. So if I'm truly want this person to, our mission is to inspire, restore hope and inspire families to live a purpose-driven life and live it to the full by being stronger, healthier, and happier. So if I want to restore that hope and inspire them and kind of go down this path, right? We want to change the trajectory of their overall health. We don't want just to give them some information. We want transformation. So, and from a year from now, we want them to be in a much better place and continually keep going down this certain path. And like you said, the culture and community really helps spur that on. So when people that are getting involved into a class, all of a sudden they're going down further towards their goals more than they would have been if they're on their own. And so it helps to feed that social and emotional relational health part, and that it's trying to hit all aspects of that as much as we can to help us accomplish the ultimate goal for that patient.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And it goes back to understanding their goals again. So there it is. You just sort of got to talk to them and see what they're looking for. For the docs listening, how does one decide to turn, 1,000 square feet of their 4,000 square feet into something that's collaborative in that nature? If you just, let's say this time it's a fitness center, let's say it's another time they decide to bring some other type of practitioner in to work under their guidance. What kind of steps do they need to look at? Was there anything in your decision making that sort of just said, you know what, I need to bring this here if I'm not going to, have somewhere else that I'd refer people to?
For us, we always try to refer people, and we can make connections with a personal trainer or with a gym and like places we would be going and working out, and we would refer, and that would help for many of them. But then I noticed there was this percent in there that were just too intimidated to make those next steps. And I'm like, man, if we could just get their body moving, that would help solve so many more other problems because I can only take them so far, right? Like we got to get their body moving, and it's a risk, right? So when we did this, it was kind of like saying, okay, this could flop or it could be successful or whatever. But it was just such a passion that I could either just settle and be okay with the way it is, but deep down I knew that I feel like, wait, I have to try to see if this will help get another percent of people into go in that direction and help improve their overall health. So for things to consider, I mean, it's definitely a major expense right off the bat, depending on the size and the quality and how much equipment and all those things. And it's basically like a little miniature CrossFit gym with a lot of functional equipment. And then we do a software. It's called MyZone, which helps with the community aspect too, where it displays their fitness tracker on the big screen in the gym, and you can see it color codes kind of like your effort, like how much you're putting into your workout, how many calories you're burning, and then it gives you like effort points in it. And then so we can do little challenges, whether it's in the workout or we can do challenges for the month, and it kind of gamifies some of the working out. And then you can also it's almost like Facebook, except it's on the app. You can scroll down and share pictures and good things about a workout, and you can see what the other people did. And so it's kind of a fun thing to keep for accountability and to spur each other on. So it's just there are several little investments and things like that, and it takes a while to build that up. I think that someone has to have a strong passion, because you're probably not gonna you're gonna, depending on how well and how long. This is only 2 years for me into this new journey, and we're seeing the fruit from that now. But it's taken a while to kind of like little by little build the classes where you have enough people in there, and then the trainers, and being able to pay for them and juggling the cost for that. But I personally just would have a passion for fitness along with the overall health aspects, and our goal, continually to try to teach someone how to fish for themselves rather than fish for them, in a sense, when it comes to their health and take care of themselves. So that was just an avenue that I needed to try for myself, or else I was never going to be satisfied. So I don't know where other people, they may be really passionate about fitness and that part of the health too. That might be a great model for them. So, and it's been huge for our team culture and their overall health fitness. I mean, we have about a dozen team members that we have, and it's been really cool is seeing they have access to the gym. They can do it at lunchtime, before work, after, or different times. Being able to watch them incorporate that. So for our own personal team culture and the energy and their own health, and seeing those improvements over the last 2 years, that's been super exciting for me, because we always want our own team to be healthier and lead by example for our patients, right? And but having it right here in house, and then we get to, a lot of times we'll be working out together. So the culture is a lot of fun and with that. But yeah, I think that each individual, to answer your question, is they have to just pray about it, and then really think about how that would look. And then and to me, even if it failed, I was going to be using it as a workshop space. So that's where I have my workshops when I for the Better Results Faster workshop, and it's a kind of a multifunctional space as well.
Yeah, I love that it's a staff benefit. I didn't even think about that. That's something that could bring together somebody that, was just going to use I'm in the office 9 to 5, I got to drive 30 minutes home. Let me skip the gym tonight. One can just extend their time at the office for 30 minutes in the morning, or, an hour after. And that's pretty cool. So that's got to be good for morale. And then I'm sure that also helps you keep an eye on what's going on in there, because I know with one thing, with any type of subletting service, any type of commercial real estate where you let people kind of use it on their own, you got to look at the gear. You got to have a roommate of mine, an undergrad, grabbed the cable at the hotel gym when we were living in Los Angeles, and the cable just snapped on it. The one
Oh,
of these,
wow.
just yeah, it was kind of a bad one. It hit the mirror. It was just sort of one of those things where, they had a great area. It was probably smaller than 1,000 square feet, but they had big full size gym equipment in there.
Uh-huh.
Sort of just, it didn't lend itself to the greatest spot. If there was somebody on a machine, you were pretty much in their area. And I appreciate that they had it, but the upkeep on the one I went to was just abysmal. I ended up buying a gym membership. So that's good
Yeah.
people in there looking at it, and you're able to see, oh, we may need to move this around, or this is done, time to buy more.
We have it designed in a way where we can do a lot of circuit training is really one of our popular things we do. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's been for me personally, I guess it's been in practice for 22 years. So I was at a place where it just really excited me to think about building out this new space and then a new adventure, because I mean, that lends to also diving more into helping people with nutrition. So, that whole process of wanting to help people more with the lifestyle things that I felt like was keeping people from going to the next level with their overall health, like chiropractically, giving them home exercises, home therapies, and adjusting them. And that helped them get to a certain level. And I just felt bad that they would plateau and they would only get so far. Being able to see many of these people just keep going down that path, it drives me, excites me to want to be able to keep going, and it makes me want to get here to work and try to help more people. So
And I know you mentioned laser. Can you talk a little bit about what type of lasers are these, class 2, 3, 4? What kind of lasering are you doing?
Yeah, it's a class 4K laser. We use it more often now along with our decompression chair that we have a cervical decompression and then also a lumbar decompression. And we've been really getting a lot of great results and feedback from those. So in my mind, when I first got the laser, it was more kind of like for sports injury thinking and then being able to utilize it for more and more things from if someone has an inflamed disc or an arthritic joint or, of course, the injuries that they have and even getting into more of things like with sinus issues that they have or an infection or if they just got done with a knee replacement and they have surgery helping the scar tissue and things like that helping it rehab and heal up. So there's we're continually branching out and using it more and more. That's we're seeing a lot of benefits from that just to help naturally speed up our own body's ability to heal and repair. It's just another great tool that we've found very effective.
Yeah, we've been meeting a lot of the different representatives from the laser companies. They've been coming out and supporting the MCPA at seminars and the Summer Expo down there. Will be in Branson again this year. And it's been great to meet them because they're all different. It's, from my understanding, I'm like, what you got here? What do you have here? And they tell me the best they can. But it's always interesting to see just how powerful the laser is. And if I remember correctly, is this the one that can only be applied by a doctor? No staff can do this? Or how does the application work on a four?
No, they staff can do it. They just have to be certified.
There it is. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not one where you can plug and play. They need to learn first. And that makes sense. And do they help you out with that, or is that something you can purchase through the company?
Yeah, the company helps them get certified. They have the training and they make it really easy for you. So yeah, no problem at all. And they're really user friendly. So we've been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, I always love hearing more about those. We just had a talk in the St. Louis area where the doctor was also a nurse practitioner, and he was giving us some information about how he gets the labs ran, and then he's using that to determine what type of laser he's going to use and where he's going to use it. So I thought that was super interesting that it wasn't just so much focused on, oh, you've got this kind of pain or inflammation here, or let's laser it. He was dialing in, and it sounds closer to what you do. So by the time that you've actually got somebody on the table for the laser, you know why you're doing it down to the science.
Yeah, it's been effective. We used to become more of a last resort because I was always very much kind of like chiropractic only. So it was hard to bring in the laser, but now it's people are wanting to get well as fast as they can. So we'll offer a lot of times with their that's why they're getting the goal and how aggressive an approach and what do they want right off the bat because sometimes we just help speed up their get them well faster, right from the gates.
And is that something that when you present it, can the patient decide to do this per treatment, or is it something to where you can bundle it, save money? Is it a membership tier? And I don't even know how often one gets it. So how does one sort of integrate the laser from the doctor side when you mentioned that you're all cash? Is this package tiered? How do you do it?
Yeah, great question. So first off, for our adjustments, we'll have kind of like our initial phase of care, which is typically right around 4 months for a patient when they come in. We'll figure out what's going on, and then that's just kind of like an average that initial phase of care, and then it will go into corrective care after that. And usually we'll put together a plan for a year by year after that. And then during the after the initial phase of care, getting the pain down, inflammation, getting the spine, the nervous system healthier, but most people they aren't stable by that at that time yet, and so the next phase, the corrective phase, we focus on getting corrective care, and then usually that's when we'll have them dive a little deeper with potentially even a home therapy to get more correction. So, for example, if we have get their curve back in their neck or help decrease the scoliotic curve. So when it comes to the packaging of how that works for the laser or the decompression chair, depending on what's going on with that individual. If they're in a severe pain and they're in a situation where they need a lot of help right away, then we'll just automatically put it in there. And I think how it works, the financial for us is if someone purchases 8 lasers or basically 7, they get the eighth for free, basically, because we find that most conditions usually takes roughly around 8, but they can pay an individual laser, which we charge $55 for a laser treatment. It's the same as an adjustment, and it's the same cost also for the decompression chair too. And then so when it comes to the adjustment side of things, we have it where our first family member they're at a regular fee and cost, but then like I said, we see a lot of families, so the second and third and beyond they get a discount off of their care by being an additional family member. And so it helps to decrease the overall load for a family to be able to get the care that they need. But when it comes to the laser and it's the discounts there, I think it was just basically you buy seven, you get one for free.
Yeah, that's cool how it's based on from your experience about where the condition you start to see what's going on with it, and then they can save money if they commit to it. But that's also great that they can decide if they're just going to pay for them individually and sort of let them see if their goals change. If they come back and they're feeling good. I'm sure that sort of changes the urgency on when they could get in to see another laser.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll, like when we're going over the report, we'll give them the recommendations for the chiropractic, and we'll let them know about their situation. And if we're not getting the results as expected or fast enough, then we can always add in an additional, and we can tell them about whatever that therapy is. And just so we kind of like plant that seed that this is something we offer as well if we need to, but with their situation, we're looking like they may not need that right away. So then throughout the course, if we have something with a shoulder or an elbow or whatever's going on with them and it's just not healing up as we expect, then we can always have them do the laser at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. They can sort of toggle it to what they're looking for. And when they do the cash adjustments, is that usually is it, so this probably changes, is it two, three regions? Is it based on what you see they have going on? Is it different than insurance where, I've seen the VA referrals and they just pay for generalized pain, low, back pain, knee pain, and they don't really, write on there what you can do, two, three, four, all those codes on there. How do you decide what kind of adjustment to do when it's not through a carrier?
Yeah, great question. Whatever they need, we'll plug that in there. And for an overall wellness, so for example, we're not treating a specific condition other than helping specific adjustment to restore the function in their spine and their nervous system to improve overall quality of health and life. So their adjustments are wellness coded, and then for regions we will be able to we adjust whatever is necessary, and it's the same cost no matter how many regions of the spine that we adjust. And then also kids are the same cost. There's sometimes a family or somebody will, well, I would expect that a child would be less expensive, but for us in our eyes, we value children just as much or more than an adult. And the time it spends and the actually the impact we're having with that adjustment on their life versus someone who's 60-year old that has all this arthritis and degeneration, we're going to be able to change the course of life of this individual, this child, much greater of an impact. So we have it the same cost, but so our family plans basically it just I think the most important thing is just communicating and laying out expectations of why and what we do, and we're going to attract the people that want that. And then if they are looking for something else, then there's a lot of other chiropractors in the area that can help serve them that'll take good care of them in those ways.
Yeah, and that's good that you're able to call on the community because sometimes it's just, with what they need, it's not a good fit, or, even worse, it's just too far. You get in these times where you're serving people, from a farther out in some of the rural counties. I know Branson is probably get a lot of folks from Branson proper, but I know you probably get some people coming from out and about. I know it shoots out like Forsyth down there and all the way
Oh
down to
yeah.
like Timberlake City if they keep driving down on the left side. So do you treat mainly people near the office, or do you have some patients that are, 40 minutes out?
Majority of our patients are within like a 30-mile radius, but we do have patients that will drive a couple hours away. And but I try to discourage that and try to help them find a chiropractor near their area because realistically, we're a family of lifetime wellness care, and for them to keep that up, it's just. But we still have some that are very dedicated. There's a couple people that I'm just thinking of one gentleman. He drives an hour and a half each way. But he was here and we helped him get through a lot of situations and he doesn't want to change. And so he drives weekly for his appointment, an hour and a half each way. But we try to help him find a chiropractor in the areas that can better take care of them or their family and be more realistic for them to have an ongoing relationship for that.
Yeah, hour and a half is no joke. I get that sometimes with the VA. You have to drive to Columbia, or if you're in Kansas City, you got to drive up there. And, for the specialties and the larger ones, they make you drive all the way out there. Sometimes you can get community care, but community care was set up because it was taking so long to get in, even after having everybody drive up there. So that's sort of and I love the access to the care. In most circumstances, you need to have the medical insurance, and then the bills are just astronomical, and then they get knocked down. And it seems like most people can get out of there for somewhere between $100 to $200, And I don't know of many services in the hospital that cost $100 except for the scissors that they throw away when they're done. That sort of benefit. And people pay for things that they value, and it's tough because I don't think people really value free, and that can go all the way from marketing all the way down to selling whatever you've got out there. So when people put their money where their mouth is, I think there is a bit of a connection. And if they have to miss it, at least they know that it was truly they couldn't make it. Whereas if you have somebody set up and you're like, oh yeah, I'll drive 2 hours each time, and there's no cancellation fee, or there's no sort of expectation that they come, then I imagine you block off the 2 to 3, and then they don't come, and you missed out on being able to meet with like two people that you would have gotten with that afternoon. So that's hard. You got to juggle your other patients' needs with also some of the more juggling nature of other people's stuff. Everyone's lives are very crazy, so I just can't imagine being a doctor and sort of just being, for the hour that you're with them, you're like, got to deal with everything. Might be an oil change if they're having an issue out in the parking lot.
Yeah, over the years we've had patients that they'll have a certain insurance or something, and then they want to go to a chiropractor that serves that insurance, and I'm like, yeah, great, I totally understand. If I'd probably do the same thing, and a lot of them will come back because of just the connection, or the maybe way the style or the way we do things or whatever. So in my opinion, I just feel like if we can just stay in our lane and do our best to serve our patients and make sure we're doing it to our values and our the way our passions, and then we're going to attract the people we're going to be able to help. And then the chiropractor down the street, they're going to focus on the things that they're passionate about doing, and they're going to attract the patients that they're going to be able to help the best. And I love that aspect of having different styles and places, because I know that our office is not going to, we have two other chiropractors, but, and we do a lot of different services and things, but I know we're not the best for everybody, and then we're not going to be able to serve everybody. And so I do think it's really good that the different styles of practice out there to serve the community. And my goal and passion is just for more people to be aware, right? I think it's amazing to me that still how many people that don't see a chiropractor and don't understand the benefits and or the necessity, depending on how you look at it, if they want to live life to the fullest. So that's kind of one of our things, is just continually trying to reach out to people that are not getting care, that really want what we have to offer, but just don't even know that we offer that.
Yeah, getting the word out there is always one of the tougher parts, because even if you have great marketing plan, even if you're somebody that does an Instagram reel once a month showing the practice, and you do all these things, you just may be working in the wrong delivery. So you do everything right, and for some reason, they don't show it here this time, and you've done great content, but you got to find a way to drive people to an email list. You have to do the community events. I always recommend people get on the sponsorship for most of the local high school sports teams, middle schools. They'll have a mailer that they do for boosters and other types of sponsors. And when you have kids in the district, I'm sure that helps as well too. But getting into the community, so that when people think, I'm really trying to get into an optimal health situation, you want your name or face to be synonymous with that. And that comes from just getting out there. And you never know, it's the time that you decide to go into the post office to mail the boxes instead of paying for the pickup to come to your house. You're probably not going to talk to the person picking it up, but there may be somebody you hold the door for there in the post office. And I've always found that just being a little bit more active in the community may beat your pay-per-click ad spend, just every once in a while. Sometimes if you got a lot of money for marketing, then I recommend marketing.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think that if there's any young chiropractors or just starting out, listening to what you just said, the more you can get involved in the community and just serving people and building relationships, getting to know people. I mean, yeah, that's your number one. That's going to help you, see people and help people for sure.
Yeah, when you talk about a community, that's the entire reason this show exists and the association exists. We've spent, majority of the time here talking about patients' goals, your limitations on being able to help everyone because it just may not be a fit for them. And that's sort of where we find the association, who's going to represent the doctors. So you're out there every day worrying about people's health. You're also getting involved in people's lives, making positive changes there. That it doesn't seem practical to drive to Jeff City tomorrow and try to see who you could speak with, during the week. And that is sort of what I wanted to ask you about here next. Can you talk about why every chiropractor in Missouri should be a member of the MCPA, and just a little bit of your experience getting into the MCPA. So why it's important to be a member, and your first day at an MCPA program, or even if it was something else, however you got involved.
Man, I don't know if I remember my first time or how I got involved because it's been a lot of years when I first started. So, but as far as why MCPA is, like you said, community is number one. Is you have people that are helping fight for you in the legislative and just working on issues to so we can keep doing what we love to do, right? So you have those efforts and that support, and the funds from us being a part of that. I've think strongly and value that a lot of what the organization is doing behind the scenes. So that's one, and then also just even the seminars and the trainings, the topics, the speakers that you guys are able to gather to learn from. It's been a great wide variety of different types of topics and speakers, which has been really good. And then in that, when you go to those seminars or being a part, again, we've talked a lot about community of building relationships within that, and then other chiropractors networking within that. And then even just the things you guys provide, even this podcast, right? Different resources that you guys provide help us when we're out and about in the boonies or wherever to feel more connected and to help guide different questions like I'll ask, like how will this all happen? Just like a great resource as I'm just kind of asking different questions and you guys can help guide and direct in those ways too. So the support is always great. So I just feel like everybody needs for sure to be a part of it for many reasons, not just for themselves, but for the bigger picture of chiropractic and then the direction and the chiropractic is going.
Yeah, and that's what we try to focus on. There's, I in my mind, you have Big C Chiropractic, the profession, just things going on where we have the national associations that also help focus on the coordination between the states and what's going on in Washington. And for most of the docs that I've met, I don't know any doctors that practice in Washington, D.C. I know doctors that practice in the greater Missouri area, sub that out for whatever district you're in. So when people ask, why should I be a member? It really comes down to that renewal notice that you get in the mail, and you take a look at it and say, did I get my membership's value this year? And for most people, whether that's coming out to the Branson seminar and the big one where you come out, you bring your CAs, you get a whole bunch of CE in the weekend, and then from there you may also bring the family out, sort of double up as a family holiday. Or if it's something where we're just in your district and you drive up to Kansas City or you come to Springfield or St. Louis, you take 6 or 7 hours, whatever you want to take that weekend. The best part of all that is just getting able to talk to people. And I see it all the time. We have those breaks in the seminar and we take, 25 minutes, 10 minutes, and you just see docs out there talking, and it starts with a handshake that turns into a hug, and there's like, I haven't seen you since, college, or I
Yeah.
haven't seen you here. So those are some of the great things that come from coming to the in-person events. And then I also tell people about when you're having problems of the legal nature. We have a legal forum that our attorney monitors, and a lot of times people will call me with a question that I just need to research. And I don't know how many other organizations people are a part of where somebody will conduct pretty in-depth research on a problem they're having. A lot of times, if it's not on the FAQ, it's not something that we can help with. I end up finding out that's the opposite. Most of the time, people don't call for the things on the FAQ. They call when they've already called, the board of examiners, and they don't know what's going on. And that's sort of the benefit of membership. If I can't figure it out, I'm going to talk to another member who's going to ask, is this person a member? And it all
Right.
loops back around. So I would encourage people to join before you need it, so that when the time comes here, whether this is an external threat, there's always some type of legislation brewing in another state about removing your ability to call yourself a physician, to use the word doctor. You always have somebody to increase their scope of practice, sort of coming in on yours. And I support everybody else's thing. They should be able to do whatever they want, the same way that you should be able to do whatever you want. But sometimes you see is that the expansion of somebody else's bag and that component will shrink yours. And you sort of just have to watch out and make sure that, the proper things are put in place there. And maybe that just comes from somebody hearing something that happens. Then they call the MCPA and they tell us about it. And they're saying, well, I don't know what's going on here. So it's a little bit easier to, collectively organize. And then if that just isn't a selling point for you, we also have the group health insurance. Folks, if you have two people in your office, you can offer this as a staff retention benefits. One of the hardest things about going out on your own is being able to find medical insurance. You need it in case you get into some kind of catastrophic problem, or if unfortunately, if you have one of the, long-term diseases, be better to get it done through the state association and your membership health program than it would be to just try one of the online brokers. You should try them all. But, sort of the things we've figured out for folks, try to make the best argument we can, but I'll always end it with everybody does a little bit so that nobody has to do it.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Well, that is the serious part of the show. We'll sort of begin to wrap it up here. Any movies, TVs, books you read recently that have been on your mind?
Not really. Actually, my wife roped me into watching The Golden Bachelor, which was kind of funny.
Okay.
Just something unexpected. It was pretty funny to watch some of that, but otherwise, not a whole lot. Yeah,
Golden Bachelor. That's one I got
yeah,
a commercial for it. And I remember looking at it just saying, that's pretty cool. I'm glad they've got that going on because I don't know. It's always a lot, that show. I'm not a long
right.
watcher, but I've seen a few episodes.
Yeah, I've never really been that big of a fan of Bachelor itself, the drama and everything. So I was really hesitant. But the Golden Bachelor, when they're in their 60s and 70s, it makes it kind of funny and more lighthearted. And so it's good that they're still searching and trying to find love. So anyway, it's kind
That's
of funny.
That's amazing. Well, where can people, so if people want to connect with you, if they want to work with you, if they have questions on something you said today, how can people get in contact with you and what's sort of the best way for people to stay in touch with you, Dr. Hill?
The best way would be to go to our website, which is just hillfamilychiropractic.com. And then you can just find out more about the practice and some of the things we were discussing. And then on there too, there's a place they can just send a message and we can get back to them or call us or whatever, email us from that website. But yeah, that'd be the best way. And then be glad to, if somebody needs to connect or ask a question or whatever, or check out the fitness area like you were talking about, something different, then be glad to show them around.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we'll be down in your area July 25th through the 27th, 2024 for the 2024 MCPA Summer Expo. So it'll be good to see you. Maybe I'll see you before then if you're out and about around, but if not, we're going to be down there. So we're sort of looking to come back to Branson. And I had a great time last year. I think the benefit of switching it between Lake Ozark and Branson is you just get to meet different docs. Anybody kind of rounding the southern staff of the state or even the KC area was able to drive by. And I'm sure that's different than the folks who are a little bit closer to Lake Ozark. So good to draw different people. And also a lot of people brought their families. So I thought that was the best part of the event. You could, as soon as the education was done, go find the family.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we of course love it here.
Amazing. Well, Dr. Hill, I really want to thank you for coming on today. This is, I know you're donating some personal and professional time here. And, we try to do our best on these calls to give people stuff that they want to listen to. And, you never know, it might be you on the next episode.
Appreciate you and all you guys do. Thank you and giving me the opportunity.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.